Lo and behold, we got there, the attack was still going on. We left on Thursday, and the attack was still going on. The amazing thing about Africa, I think I don't know the Middle East well enough to know if it's directly comparable, but being in Nairobi for 4 days during a headline news around the world event that everybody else in the world figured made the entire city an armed camp, it was anything but. Calm, upset, tragic, but there is no issue of what's going to happen. I was interviewed several times by U.S. reporters about the Westgate, and several of them actually asked me, is the Westgate Mall ever going to reopen? Well, that's similar to asking if the Mall of the Emirates was going to reopen if they had a small fire. It will not only reopen, it will reopen quickly, it will be busier than it ever has been, and that's what Africa's all about. The opportunities are never ending. East Africa, ShopRite's the largest retailer, grocery retailer on the continent, with something approaching 2,000 stores. They're targeting Ethiopia and Kenya. Massmart, which is a Walmart company, is looking for a Kenyan acquisition. And one of the many but considerably large project by African standards, sub-Saharan standards, is Actis developing a 50,000 square meter mall called Garden City in Nairobi. When I talk to business people around the world, but particularly Americans, why Ghana? Irwin, why in heaven's name at your age did you move from Vermont to Ghana? And the answer is it can be boiled down to a couple of simple sentences. I wasn't ready to retire. The United States fell off the retail and development map by our standards. It's getting on close to 10 years ago. And in 2011, Walmart announced that they bought 51% of Massmart. Massmart is the largest retailer on the continent of Africa. When Walmart said it was time for them to be there, I figured, well, it's probably time for me too. It was the time, but it was a time for the Adrian Hayeses of the development world, because it's a tough business all around. Those of you who are developers know what it's like. Every day is another anxiety. West Africa has a somewhat unique blend of hard to imagine difficulties, starting with actually finding the right person to buy the land from. And I have the great pleasure of having been made a chief of the tribe in Accra. And the reason they made me chief was, among other things, is they got me to buy a piece of land from them that they didn't know. West Africa has become the darling of retail growth. Nigeria has a population of 170 million people. That's 3.5 times the size of South Africa. Abuja, the capital of Nigeria, and Accra are the fastest growing cities on the continent. They're growing almost 10% per year. Nigeria, in GDP growth, Nigeria is 7%, Ghana 9%, and in 2011, at 13%, Ghana was the fastest growing economy in the world. Oil is an additive to sub-Saharan Africa, and particularly Ghana. Ghana is the #2 cocoa producer in the world, the #2 gold producer in Africa. It was already well on its way to growth, stable democracy, almost no violence. spark to make it rise into the next level. Cameroon, Gabon, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Congo, they're all being targeted by global retailers. And almost every day we're getting contacted by European retailers and the large American retailers other than Walmart. All want to know about Africa, North and South. They do not understand Africa at all. The investors in Africa are far and few between. I'm literally the only American real estate principal living on the continent that anybody can identify, including me. And but you'd be surprised at the names that are serious about coming. And we are making the deals. My competitors are making the deals. And the last item I'll mention. Whoops. Can you go back? Yes. Some of the new projects, Atterbury, building a mall in Accra, 23,000 square meters. Nalum Junction, 20,000 square meters, being built by our company. Kumasi Mall, Kumasi is the capital of the Ashanti Kingdom, 19,000 square meters, built by our company. Resilient is doing them all. And there are other competitors that some you may know of, some haven't come to the Middle East. Novare, RMB, Westport, Actus, Atterbury. But that's it. Hard as it may be to believe, 800 million customers at the moment are being served by a very small cadre of retailers and an even smaller cadre of developers. So my invitation is to all the retailers in the room who haven't considered where the future is going to be. It's going to be in sub-Saharan Africa. I do not invite any retail developers to sub-Saharan. I'd like to keep the competition low. Thank you very much.
All right, let's check and see if the mic is working first off. So, you guys look a little sleepy. Who was here last year?
Yes.
You guys have fun? Last year was kind of an interesting format that we decided to do. We had 136 slides. We had about 30 minutes. We actually went through maps of every single country, and then we showed every single project that was going on in those countries. And I basically sat here and I just talked as fast as I could for about probably 40 minutes as I was getting ushered off the stage with that hook. But it was a lot of fun, and if I have one regret, it's that we actually did change the format this year, because from talking to people, I wish we'd actually done that again, because it sounds like something that people would have enjoyed again. What we've actually done this year, we've actually brought in one of our partners, the GRMC Group, who's a market research company. We have a lot of faith in them, and we've asked them to sort of put together some of the data for us. And somehow we're not starting on the first slide, so let's see if we can go back. So what we've actually got is a slightly abridged version of what we had last year, where we actually go through the economics of each of the countries, we go through the economics of some of the cities, we look at some maps, we'll actually show you exactly where these things are being built, how many of them are being built, and we'll give you a bit of a summary. And we do this for only about 9 cities this time. If I'm perfectly honest, as of right now, Mr. McAdam asked me to leave the stage 4 minutes ago. So we'll try and get through relatively quickly. And I'll stand here because one thing I'm going to have to do as I go through this is I'm going to have to point. So if anybody's looking for the laser pointer, I'm going to be doing it on the right screen here. So the first country we were talking about, United Arab Emirates. Everybody knows this one very well. It's well established. One of the things that I have to point out is that they, for one reason or another, chose to use the current sort of journey per capita and current constant prices. So those numbers are going to look really low to you guys. They look really low to me. I don't know why they chose to do that. Harvey was trying to explain to me earlier. He's an economist and figured it out. But I think some of the interesting things about the United Arab Emirates is, of course, lots of shopping centers here, lots on the way, and lots of population growth. We are now looking at a country of 8.6 million people. So if we look at it on the map, we'll look at Dubai first off, and I'll go through these piece by piece. So one of the most exciting projects going on in the last little while, really exciting to me, is was originally called the Avenues. And they've actually renamed it to be the City Walk. But this particular shopping center A lot of questions came up as people talked about outdoor shopping in the Middle East. Now, we have to reserve judgment until probably 18 months down the road. It's been through one of the summer cycles, but I think it's an unmitigated success at this point. And of course, they're expanding. So there's a second piece of the avenues now called City Lot going in here. Bergemont Center is expanding, like I say, behind one of these things. Jumeirah Park Community Center, The Point. This is an interesting one. This was announced. There was a lot of fanfare on this one. It was 136 restaurants. We're going to go right on the tip of the Palm Jumeirah. I don't know what's happening with that one right now. In the wake of the fact that they're building I think 143,000 square meter shopping center on right in the middle of the Palm, which they're calling the Heel Mall. The Emar Mega Mall is supposed to basically be the largest shopping center in the entire world. And I believe there's actually, it's worth mentioning, I think there's a Blue Water project going in down there as well. So, Dubai, lots going on. We chose to highlight in each one of the cities, without any commentary whatsoever, the largest of the shopping centers that are developed. So we have the Mall of Arabia scheduled for 2017. I believe they are opening some retail as part of the Marble City in that year, but it's supposed to be 371,000 square meters. Abu Dhabi, exciting place. Abu Dhabi has actually delivered a lot of shopping centers in the last couple of years. As most of you know, we've had the arrival of the Dalma Mall, we've got Capital Mall, the legal hiking market, we've got Deerfield's open, we have the Yas Mall opening here. I think it's official now, we can say September of next year, not March of next year. And of course, coming up, we've got 3 malls that are currently competing to all open all in about 2017. So we're talking about the Saadiyat District Mall, the Merida Island, I believe they're calling it Suez Central, and the Reed Mall on Reed Island. And missing from this slide, but not forgotten, is the Marina Mall extension. We're looking at taking 150,000 square meter shopping center to about 250,000 square meters. So a lot going on in Abu Dhabi, a lot of great stock coming in. Good news for retailers. And we have the Reed Mall up here. Yeah, Harvey laughs when I say that. Anyways, 180,000 square meters. The expected year is actually 2017. Parking is about 6,250. And here's your list of the UAE upcoming shopping centers, which I will not comment on. I don't have time. But I will tell you this. At the end of this presentation, last year I had a bunch of people taking pictures of these slides. Everybody who wants this presentation will put it up on YouTube. So this might be a useful slide for you from an archive perspective. So how's the population and growth going, and how is the retail GLA per capita looking? Population way up, population is going up, the GLAs are coming up, and we're looking at going from 0.53 up to 0.67 by 2017. From an audience participation perspective, is that a good number? You guys are asleep. I don't know. I mean, the truth of the matter is it's certainly well below a lot of the international averages in the Western world. You'd have to really be able to examine this on a deep basis. One of the things we have a tendency to do is in this population, not everyone in this population is necessarily a consumer. We have a fair amount of laborers and those kind of numbers. Strip those out, you probably get into what I would consider a very healthy number.
I think the interesting thing they're showing is the fact that the relevance of malls, the older malls, as the population, and this is changing. It's a bit like we were talking about office buildings, office stock. Does it remain relevant? And would we see that change as, there are some malls now on prime real estate that would actually be brilliant for hospitality. Are they going to remodernize? Are they going to reinvest? Or will we see that GLA taper off as some of the stock is removed from the market?
And Harvey's actually setting me up to use my favorite word, which is some markets, they're not overbuilt, they're underdeveloped. Did I get that? I'll let you get there all on your own. All right, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The amazing thing about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is massive population, massive growth in GDP, and a continued growth in population as well in advance of most of the other countries we're looking at. All right, so we're going to look at Riyadh. And I can't claim to be an expert on Riyadh, so I'm going to kind of list off here. So we got the Al Wasl Mall, the Shams Al Riyadh Mall coming in on number 3 over here, the Tafti Retail, the Nakhil Mall, Mall of Arabia, which I know to be in excess of 170,000 square meters. So this is actually, I don't believe it's actually under construction yet, but it'll be under construction fairly soon. I think it's going to be one of those sort of super regional shopping centers from the guys who are Arabian centers. Al Malaz Plaza, Al Fadr Place, and king style retail asset. Now, I know this isn't necessarily a complete list, but we do have some limitations when we're standing up there, what we can and can't say. So one thing I said to Harvey was, Harvey, you're missing, you're missing this, you're missing that. He said, I signed confidentiality agreements on a few things. I can't talk about this, I can't talk about that. So it may not be totally up to date, but you got any of that, Harvey?
There's a lot of activity in Riyadh, and we all know there's a real population with a real demand. I think one of the things, Shane, we were talking about is the interesting way that moles are building moles next to moles. Sometimes you think, where's the imagination? Where's the feeder road? Why? Because you've got a plot next to this one. And are we going to see comparative mole shopping? Is that really the issue that's going to happen? Replica moles. I'm just throwing these out to keep you guys awake, by the way. It's a dry old thing, but it's interesting when you're looking at these sites. When I'm doing my research, I'll say, and Shane will just kick me straight back and say, why have you chosen that site? What's your first thing? Are you going to say, or are you keeping it secret?
Where do I choose my site? I pick a spot on a very fast-moving road with a huge density of affluent population.
Fair enough, and that's right for your mark. These are the debates that we were having looking at this and sort of...
Preferably where there's not a competitor across the street. But that is one of the things that's done in Riyadh for a long time. The main streets, the two main streets right downtown, I think cumulatively have in excess of 24 shopping centers. So, a lot of fun. So what else is happening in Riyadh? Okay, so we do talk a little bit about Mall Arabia. Now, we do have some Al Care guys that can probably confirm it. Actually, there's a booth outside. But they told me in great confidence, I thought I'd announce it here, that it's actually going to be a lot more than 170,000 square meters by the time they finish it. It's actually still in design right now. So there's our upcoming malls for you guys. And we're looking at, now compared to, remember when we looked at Dubai, this was about 0.67 by 2017. So we're looking at them having about a third of the supply on a per capita basis is what we're seeing in the UAE. And to be honest, in Saudi, you're actually seeing sort of a larger population, indigenous population, a little bit less of the sort of foreign, when you look at the population, perhaps a few less laborers in that mix. So I think the Saudi's got a lot of opportunity. I think most retailers are putting that pretty much the top of their list right now as far as where they have the opportunity for growth.
The under 30s, the real size of the population. The UAE and Qatar, we're always a little bit volatile with the economy in the world for tourists and the tourist spend. If you're looking at Saudi Arabia, there's a real population there. There's a real 30-year-old group, very similar to what you were saying, that are looking for places to go, places to hang, places to meet. Much more the social hub than we say the malls are here. These are the destinations to go to.
Yeah, the third place, absolutely. And of course in Jeddah, beautiful place, wonderful seafront. We have the Galleria, the Al Yasmin Mall, and the Jeddah Gate. And focusing on the Yasmin Mall, 94,260. Another one of these fantastic Al Group, quite a sizable project. All right, Qatar. Qatar's got to be one of the most interesting markets. I don't know how many of you actually have been to Qatar, how many of you studied Qatar. But I've never seen such a furious pace of growth. And I'm not just talking about shopping centers. You can look at office buildings, you can look at residential, you can look at reclaiming waterfront, etc. But Qatar is extremely wealthy. In fact, this is where I first noticed that this GDP per capita U.S. at constant price is 51,086 is based on a 2007 number, which in constant prices. So it's actually more like $100,000. So you can imagine a country where the GDP per capita is in excess of $100,000. Compare that to the U.S., the richest country, over 45,000. 12.1% average growth rate. It's gone from in 2008 58 billion to 92 billion. Is that right? If I got my zeros correctly. And very interesting country because they have 16 shopping centers currently under construction. And Harvey, how many shopping centers do they have today? How many do they have today?
It depends what you count in there, but one hand, two hands, not that many.
Yeah, so less than 10 in there today and 16 under construction. There's a fair amount of activity in there. And one of the interesting things for me is that a lot of the activity has actually been concentrated up here along the Al-Shamal Road. So I can actually barely read these, so it's a little tough for me to actually point these out. But Souk Al-Wa'ab, out here you've got the Doha Festival Center, the Gulf Mall, the Esdan Mall, the Mergab Mall actually sits right there. On what used to be called Southend Street. They've got a marine mall going in. I believe this is BTC's group going in on the waterfront there. Barwa Al Doha Mall. winter stopped working on me. But other significant ones, Northgate Mall going in, it's working again. Actually just preceding the, no, it's not again. Yeah, that's not going to work. The Mall of Qatar, which is huge, and the Al Hazm. So the biggest one under construction today, which is the one that sort of at the extent of the Shamal Road that we saw there, 260,000 square meter shopping center. Expected year of opening 2016. Not so sure about that one, but hopefully. And this one, of course, is being built by the Eldstrom Group. So it's already got the IKEA open, and I understand it's doing a phenomenal trade. So I want to move on. This is one of my favorite slides. I love this one. So we're looking at the GLAs, the populations, and the GLA per capita. So you might remember we looked at Saudi was 0.21 in 2017, UAE was about 0.62, we're looking about 0.98 here. So there's definitely a huge amount of construction going on in Qatar. Now, there's also a huge amount of money, right? We're talking about that. So, we need to make Oman is growing. Oman is not as wealthy as some of the sort of oil-rich GCC countries, but it does have a big population. What's going on in Oman? We have our Royal Opera House, our Bashar Heights, the Oman Convention Center, and Al Fateh Mall. I love how we call it Al Fateh Mall. We don't know much about it, if I'm honest with you. So the Al Marsa Retail Center in Muscat, JV between Oman's waterfront, 10,850 square meters, relatively small by kind of middle standards of shopping centers, expected to open next year. Now, this is so basically what Al Fateh has announced is that we're going to build the biggest mall in Oman, but they haven't announced the biggest one. It's actually a JV between themselves and the Omani National Investment Trust, and we look forward to learning more about it. Now, some things that are mentioned here that weren't on the map is that I believe MAF is going to be expanded to Wade, Muscat City Center, and Burn City Center, so look forward to more space there. And you see a very, very low GLA per capita, lots of population growth. Good opportunity. Bahrain. You want to talk about Bahrain? Bahrain, all right. Bahrain, we're looking at a huge GDP growth, 3.6%. Obviously, they've been going through some difficult winter unrest. I know a lot of retailers did taking them off the radar until they sense some sort of calming down of activities on the ground. But I think it does represent a great opportunity in the long run. Certainly a healthy GDP at about 14 billion for a relatively small population. And of course, we have the downtown Al Ain Center coming up with the Gulf Holding Company, 40,670 square meters. A few upcoming malls as well. New Harrach Mall with 45,000 Dragon City and the Arena. And we're moving on to Kuwait. So Kuwait, obviously one of the richest countries in the Gulf, one of the sort of smallest indigenous populations, established probably a lot earlier than this, so a lot more mature kind of market kind of situation, about 3% growth coming in there, and looking at the GDP about 71 billion. Sorry, I should have had a map of Kuwait. Apparently that one got left off there, but next time. So we're looking, in terms of what's upcoming, we're looking at the Promenade Mall with 17,500 square meters opening in 2014, about 1,000 parking spots. The Boulevard Mall also opening in 2014, the Promenade and Sahara Mall and Restaurant Mall. One of the interesting things about Kuwait, and I've experienced this as a developer and as a retailer, is that Kuwait is very, very difficult to assemble large plots of land with a very high sort of floor space area that you can actually build up. So one of the things that tends to happen in Kuwait is people find 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 plots, they put them together, and they build 4 or 5 little shopping centers, such as the ones you see here. It's very difficult to look at doing sort of super regional shopping centers. And Iraq, one of my favorite places. I actually have had the absolute pleasure of visiting Iraq on almost a monthly basis, traveling to Erbil, to look at a project that my company has close to the airport there. And I can honestly tell you it's a very pleasant place to go. I see a lot of similarities between sort of pre-1990 Dubai and what I see happening there today. I've heard that you see similar things in Saudi Arabia, and that you can expect to see these things come in as soon as Baghdad's been settled down. But certainly we're seeing a massive GDP growth. There's huge oil wealth growing in Iraq. And we're talking to the oil companies. This is something we can expect to continue for the foreseeable future. If anything, it's at a very early stages, and sometime about 2 years from now, we expect it to start to actually blow up. And we do have these, we have a mall in Baghdad to focus on, the Harvey Mall in Baghdad, 24,000 square meters, opening in 2015. And actually that ends the GRMC regional update presentation. So one thing that Harvey actually said to me was would be really fun is to actually ask the audience if they have any questions for the team.